Welcome to the New Discourses. My name is Guillermo Pablos Murphy, and I am a Master of Arts in International Relations. This episode is titled, How Maps Deceive You. Let me summarize this video's message in one sentence. Maps deceive you by distorting the sizes and positions of countries, leading to misconceptions about their actual significance in geopolitics. Now, if that intrigues you, please watch along. Have you ever thought about why we map the world the way we do? It's worth considering how someone might be used to seeing the world on a map depending on where they are living. If you're North American, you're likely used to seeing the map like this, with the United States of America, Canada, and Mexico center of the world stage. If you're Asian, you would be more accustomed to this, with Eurasia center stage and the Americas on the right side of the map. If you're European, you are likely used to this, Europe and Africa beneath it, marking the axis of the world, and the American continent on the left. Imagine if one of the ones you are unaccustomed to was the main way you and your culture viewed the world. Consider how this could affect the way you see the world. More interestingly, consider how you might think differently about your country or region's role in world politics. Most people are used to seeing a map of the world where they are central and other countries are peripheral. Most people think their country has a central role to play on the world stage of international relations. As an exercise in suggestion, consider some of the terms are used and the impression they denote. A region being the center of the world stage, the Americas being on the right side of the map, Africa being beneath Europe. Making something central in visual composition denotes importance. We have a certain way in which we interact with visual composition. Our eyes look over two-dimensional compositions and rest on the object at the center of a composition, if there is one. The center of an image is literally the focus of our attention. This is likewise with maps. We perceive whatever is at the center of a map as the most important part of it. Point being, by mapping your own country at the center of a world map, you're symbolically placing your country at the center of the world stage, of central importance to world affairs and international relations. This sort of cartographic narcissism isn't surprising. The first thing anyone wants to do on a map is know where they are. Then they can find out where others lie in relation to them. But a place's centrality on a map can lead to accidental delusions regarding its importance, simply as a consequence of how we perceive a visual composition. Regarding the right side of a map, we talk about being on the right side of the law, the right side of history, more broadly about being right and about righteousness. In English, the word right is derived from the Old Greek orectus, meaning honest and morally upright, and the Latin rectus, literally meaning straight. It developed into modern English, carrying associations like conformity with truth, reason, and correctness. The correlation of these positive associations with a relative direction, the right side of something as opposed to the left side, is ascribed to the early Christian church, which symbolically associated the left side of something, and especially the left hand, with the work of the devil. This isn't unique to English. For example, in Spanish, the right hand is called diestra, and the left hand used to be called siniestra, which means the sinister one. In cultures used to speaking of an abstract right side of something, it is worth considering if the placement of regions on the right side of a map has any consequences on the way we perceive the countries and peoples of East and West, based solely on their placement on a map. Finally, aligning north-south with the vertical axis on every map has its perceptual implications as well. We are predisposed to perceive countries positioned above others as better. just as we perceive items placed higher than others of greater importance. You can see this everywhere. A news agency places its most important stories at the top of its publication. Tallest building in a village is the building that forms that community, often a religious structure that places an idol at a high point of reference. At the Olympic Games, we place a contest's 3 medalists on platforms according to their outcome, with the best athlete placed on the highest stand. The winner of a fight stands above a defeated rival. We climb up ladders of achievement. You fall to rock bottom and reach up to break a glass ceiling. If something is beneath us, it is lesser than us and not worth our time. Etymologically, something inferior to you literally means lower than you. To reiterate, we are predisposed to perceive a country placed above another visually as actually better. Naturally, this is completely irrational, but understandable. Be aware of this predisposition and correct for it. As a fun exercise, you can see the world inverted to a south-north here. If you'd like to see the detail, see the article in the description. Similar to understanding higher to mean better, we are predisposed to relating bigger to stronger. We often perceive a bigger country as being stronger than a country with less territory. Now, this is a more useful predisposition than equating a higher position on a map to any difference in quality, but it remains simplistic. More importantly, maps still deceive us about the real sizes of places. The Earth is a sphere, or more correctly, an ellipsoid. Consequently, a rectangular piece of paper or a flat screen are not accurate ways to map the Earth. Most of the time, however, it is simply more convenient to use a flat map of the world. Many projections, as flattened depictions of the world are called, have been designed over the centuries, each design prioritizing a different use case, most often navigation. All map projections distort the shapes and sizes of the Earth's surface. The one you are likely to be most accustomed to is the Mercator projection. It is used by the predominant navigation apps, your Google and Apple Maps, and is within most textbooks and maps you encounter in education. You can visualize the Mercator projection as unfolding the surface of a globe outward onto a cylinder, and then flattening the cylinder onto a sheet. This results in a map with areas of exaggerated sizes far from the equator. The closer to the poles of the Earth, the greater the distortion. Other projections exist, each with their own choice priorities and distortions. On the Mercator projection, for example, Greenland looks to be the same size as Africa, when in fact Africa is 14 times larger. Alaska appears to be the same size as Australia, though Australia is 4.5 times as large. The islands of Madagascar and Great Britain look about the same size, while Madagascar is actually more than twice as large. A fun way to discover the way the Mercator projection distorts sizes is the website thetruesize.com, which allows you to drag a country's outline across the Mercator projection and have it adjust in size to distortion in real time. Be aware that the maps that you use every day carry deceptive depictions of the world. To summarize, maps are deceptive depictions of the surface of the Earth. While countries are positioned at the center, at the periphery, or on the upper half of a map, will generate irrational impressions of the geopolitical reality. This is exacerbated by the maps you use on a daily basis that do not accurately depict the size of countries. Be aware of these inaccuracies and act on your perceptions accordingly. That's the end of this episode of the New Discourses. Thank you for your time. I have been Guillermo Pablos Murphy, signing.